You are listening to the World Sports Show on WPPM-LP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
And welcome to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here with John and Chris. April 24th, 2017. Another great episode you're listening to on the World Sports Show. We're broadcasting on WPPM LP Philadelphia on your FM dial, 106.5 FM on the interwebs, phillycam.org/radio/listen. So how you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Another good night, another good show coming up.
I think it's always great
excited
when you lead into the show. The show before was Vanessa's show. The Elevated had some science music going on, so always puts me in a good mood.
Man, showing my age there.
Yeah.
Old Thomas Dolby playing.
Dude, doesn't get any better than that. It brought back the conversation of cassette tapes versus black cassette tapes, clear cassette tapes, white cassettes. Every once in a while, there'd be like a yellow cassette tape, and then there was the sun-scorched tapes of if you left it outside too long, it would change colors.
Right. Wasn't he a Dolby surround sound inventor? Thomas Dolby?
Yeah,
Could be.
something like that.
It's a Wikipedia fact.
Wikipedia is 100% accurate.
That's right.
Hey, dude, we use it a lot for references of finding out player profiles. Sometimes you see some things in there, and you're like, oh, need to update that. But we got a great show tonight. We have two amazing guests. It'll be calling into the show a little later tonight. Sabrina D'Angelo, goalkeeper for North Carolina and NWSL, and also Canada Women National Team, and also keeper coach for the Orlando Pride, Lloyd Yaxely, out of England. So definitely a lot of goalkeeper. I know we had a goalkeeper coach in last week and goalkeeper pro player Scott Croce. So it's treat for you goalkeepers, but we'll try to get some field players on there. We'll mix it up.
Nah, who needs field players?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you keep a clean sheet, I mean, you figure 10 other players can at least get a goal.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
definitely excited to have our guest on, Sabrina D'Angelo. 2 for 2 on 2 clean shutouts for North Carolina. They are on top of the table. So, but let's look at what happened last week in our read-off wrap-up. NWSL wrapped up their second week of the season this past weekend with games on Saturday and Sunday. The Red Stars edged Kansas City 1-0. North Carolina stayed unbeaten with a 1-0 win over Portland. Seattle easily handled Houston with a 5-1 victory. Orlando and Washington drew on the Lifetime game 1-1 in their new stadium, and Boston just narrowly beat Sky Blue by a score of 1-0. In local MLS action, the Philadelphia Union drew Montreal Impact 3-3. The Union blew a 3-0 first half lead, but did snap a losing streak, a 4-game losing streak with a 3-3 draw, which a loss it felt like. Dallas beat Kansas City 1-0. They are the only unbeaten team in MLS play. Champions League wrapped up last week with their quarterfinals. Barcelona and Juve tied 0-0, but Juve advances with the 3 goals, so they're off to the semifinals. Monaco down Dortmund, they will advance. Atletico Madrid beat Leicester to knock out the EPL champions, and Real Madrid beat Bayern Munich. So there we have it. Barcelona's through, Monaco's through, Atletico Madrid is through, Real Madrid is through, and I think the one that everybody's really going to be eyeing on is Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid drew each other in the next round.
Yeah. I mean, the matchups are magic.
Yeah.
From this stage out.
Every single team right now can be debated as we could be the champions and every single debate could hold weight.
Yeah, I think it's true that every time we talk about Champions League, I change my team every week to whoever the
Yeah.
great team is.
Yeah, whoever's on the hot burner. In FA Cup action, Arsenal beat Man City. They were down 1-0 in the second half, but came back and beat Man City. They advanced to the FA Cup final, which they will play Chelsea, who beat Tottenham by a score of 4-2. And other EPL action, Ibrahimovic for Manchester United tore his ACL. We'll break that down in a few minutes of what impacts that can mean for North American or MLS soccer. So look at the local flavor was the Union. They had a 3-0 lead on Impact. Look, they were cruising. They were going to snap the losing streak. They did snap the losing streak, but it feels like a loss when you're lose 4 games in a row. You've only got 2 ties. It comes to the point where here on out, draws are losses in my book. As much as, yeah, you got a point, but when you have that big of a lead at home and you draw at home, a draw at home is to me a loss at home.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Absolutely. You need the points. You need to get back in climb up the table, so they say, climb up the standings, get your team back in playoff position. And it's tough. They're looking up 3 goals and to a Montreal club who isn't exactly setting the world on fire. 1 win on the season. Some notable names, but not a really great, sharp club. I mean, I think that 3 points was mandatory, and they came up short. I mean, it was a heartbreaker. I mean, a sub came on, scored 2 quick goals, and, the goals were defendable. I mean, you can point a lot of fingers, but I look at it as a whole team collapse because you're at that point, everybody should be coming back. The coach should be putting the players in to park the bus. So I look at, the blame game is everybody gets the blame on this one,
Yep, coaching staff, players, and there's got to be that accountability, that I know that we hear every week. Jim Curtin put it saying, this is on me, this is on me. But if anything, players got to start putting their hands up and be like, this is on us. It comes to the point where Jim Curtin can only do so much. At the end of the day, the players have to execute and finish. You put yourselves in a 3-zip position, finish the game out.
Spoken like a true coach. As a coach would say, hey, it's not the coach's fault, it's the player's fault.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, but it is. It is to
I get
certain,
it.
to a certain extent. There's too much in this, I think, in sports where coaches are getting fired, coaches are getting blamed. Their job is to prepare you and put you in the best position to win. If your coach does his job right, he or she. The coach did put the players in the best position to win. They got themselves in a 3-0 position. Your coaching, your training, your soccer IQ should have been enough to maintain that 3-goal cushion.
Opening up a can of worms for a debate. We're going to be going through the next 20 minutes. I love the topic. I mean, and it's common. I mean, it's every game. It's a situational thing where, hey, you do have the 3-goal lead. Yes, in a game. Is it the we're talking from, I believe it was around, let's just say 65th minute in the game on. We got a 90-minute game. 65th minute, granted, your team is up 3-0. I know with the Union Montreal game is a little bit different scoreline, but we'll just say for argument's sake 65th minute because generally that's the time, that's usually tactical change time of a pro coach.
Yep.
That's when the subs come on. I don't want to say scripted, but, you look across the league and across the pro level, that's right around when the subs come in. So let's look at, hey, is it the coach or is it the team in a must-win? I mean, at this point, this is basically a playoff game first, second month of the season where you got to get your 3 points. So now we're back to, is it the coach or is it the players? And, I see your side that they put him in a position. The coach got him up 3-0. What are you going to do? So, but the thing, though, getting back to this game in particular, the goals weren't really great goals. They were kind of soft goals. There were a sub coming in.
Yeah.
They weren't spectacular. They were, I would say they're on the softer side.
Definitely.
Goalie blunder. I think the goalie took no criticism, but obviously the last goal, the goalie put it right back out. You either parry the ball wide or
Yeah, you can't put it back in like that. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
That, it does come to the point where you're losing all these games, and every week he's starting to change the lineup because what else do you do? We've all been there. You and I have been. We've coached the highest level. That well, if you consider college highest level, but next highest level of the pro in America is college, and we both coached in college, and there's teams that you and I have coached have been on losing streaks. And what do you do? To a certain extent, you have to reward some of the backup players, and not just reward, but you have to mix up the lineup, change it up, try something different, because the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. When the same thing isn't working, you almost have to change it up. We saw Ray Gaddis start. That was a mix-up, a guy that's been with the Union for a very long time, but changed it up. I have no problem with him changing the lineup because the 11 he'd been putting out there wasn't winning. So you have to just make next man up.
Right, but was a left back change for, a defensive back compared to an offensive back a real change on the team?
I don't think so, but I think it's more of a everybody's job's on the line here, that you know what, maybe that's not what we needed, but you are not producing enough for us to win. So we have to try maybe a defensive more, and that hasn't really been their problem. It's not the defensive end, it's just the lack of timely goals and giving up late goals because you're pushing up so much. So maybe that was the idea, get that early goal, which in a way should have worked because Ray Gaddis is more defensive, and you got a 3-zip cushion, even better. You got more defensive-minded players in there, but it didn't work.
Right.
On paper, I agree with it, but at the end of the day, paper doesn't win games. The players on the field got to win the game.
That's right.
So definitely feels like a loss. I mean, especially when you look at it, a 3-game homestand, you walk away with a point. No excuses, man.
Looking for 7 points, you come away with 1.
That's what we were talking a lot about. That is doing the math before, and it's a tricky thing that I think a lot of Union fans would have been satisfied with maybe a win and 2 draws, or a win and a loss. Any type of those combinations. I think anything over 4 points, we would have been like, okay, 4 or 5 points. Okay, I get it.
Get on the board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, to not even, like I said, not even get on the board. They had that early goal against Portland in that first game, and it was downhill from them. Gave up 3 goals and gave up 5 goals. So really 5 unanswered goals, and then you get 3 goals and then 3 unanswered goals. So it's the same thing that when the slope starts getting slippery, it gets really slippery in Philadelphia.
That's right.
To the point where if the game was any longer, they would have lost that game. I guarantee if the game was 10 minutes longer, they would have lost.
Right. And, any team that is at the bottom of the standings in any sport, the fan base is, of course, going to be very critical. Which they should be. I mean, people are paying their hard-earned.
That's what I've been hearing. You've been there. We've been there for all the games. We hear a lot of the shouts.
That's right.
And that's just Philly fans. So. Philly fans are as authentic as they get. They wear their feelings on their sleeves, and they wear it on their mouth. You're going to hear what Philly fans – there's no shyness with Philly fans.
No, but the thing is, this is the time where you see how knowledgeable your fan base is.
This is true.
If they can pick out, actually weed through – the nonsense,
Yeah.
Your team's losing. Let's get to the real, meat and potato of the loss, But it's easy just to fire shots.
Yeah, the fire shots out. This coach needs to replace that player. Needs tell me, give me a solution, because we see a lot of journalists out there, and nothing drives me up the wall more than journalists saying, fire this guy, get another guy in there. Well, okay, fire him, but what's the other guy that's going to come in? What's he or she going to do?
Right.
I'm talking in general in sports. When people talk about canning a coach, what are we going to do? But we definitely will change the page. We have a guest coming on in a few moments. John's going to be handling the phone line here. I'm going to build this interview up, give you a little background on it. The player we have coming on the show plays for North Carolina in NWSL. They were formerly the New York Flash last year, Sabrina D'Angelo. She also plays for Canada's women national team. Won a bronze medal this past summer for Team Canada in the Rio Games. Obviously won a championship with the Flash this past season in NWSL, so a very exciting past 6 months for Sabrina D'Angelo. Also kind of neat going to North Carolina to play, that she played her college ball at South Carolina, so not too far away from where she played her college ball, but will definitely break down in her career playing for the youth teams of Canada, playing in NWSL for technically 2 different teams, the same team makeup, same coaching staff, same players, but be interesting to break down that whole idea of the move. And now with Carolina sitting on top of the table with 6 points in 2 games, definitely exciting. The NWSL is off to a very, very fast start this year. You look at Carolina, they're top of the table with 6 points. They've gotten 2 1-0 wins. I think the neat part about having Sabrina D'Angelo on tonight is that she came up with 2 clean sheets. It's the only team in NWSL that has had 2 clean sheets. You know, they've got only 2 goals for, but 2 wins, so it doesn't really matter when you only win by 1 goal. A win is a win. So they're, it's only 2 games in. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but they're top of the table right now, sitting at awesome 2-0 with 6 points. The other team that's close to them is Seattle with a win and a draw, so they're sitting at 4 points. But I believe that we have Sabrina D'Angelo on the line right now, John?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good, good. I guess it's nice to have a couple days off to recover and get ready for the next set of games.
Yeah, of course, especially after a tough game against Portland. A couple days off isn't bad.
Definitely. It's a long season, so, I mean, you look at it as a season's a marathon compared to the college season where it's all just a fast-forward sprint. But, I mean, you guys must be feeling good about yourselves. You go to Washington, get a 1-zip lead, then you face Portland. It finished, top of the table last year, and to be able to shut them out as a goalkeeper, I mean, what did you see, and what have you seen the last couple of games that helped you get that shutout?
I just think the style of play that we're continuing to play is very exciting. And, to go into a 3-back against Portland was amazing to see how well they did in the back and then the midfield and obviously the forwards. Like, I didn't have a lot of work, thankfully, back there. But, yeah, they did a great job in front of me, and the shutout's just as much theirs as it is mine, for sure.
I think the neat part is, like you said, you didn't have a lot of work. John and I are both goalkeeper coaches, and we really pride ourselves on having a really good open communication with the back line that, a lot of the outsiders don't realize. If you have such a really good back line working with you and you do a great job in commanding it, we teach young kids that you really take yourself out of having to make desperate saves. And how does that work with you in developing the game? Because you're still pretty young. You're only 23, but how's that just that vision and working with your back line helped you develop as a keeper?
I think you touched on it a lot with the communication. It's huge, especially as you kind of go through the different levels of play. And just making sure you're organizing your back line and making sure, because they're not only mentally exhausted, but they're physically exhausted as well, whereas we are not working as much as goalkeepers, so we have to be tuned in mentally and just help them out and organize them and tell them where players are running because we can see everything in front of us. So I think communication is a huge thing, and it was something that I got taught very young, and it wasn't obviously as developed as it is now, but it was just like the basics of left shoulder, right shoulder, and just telling the players where to move, and it's kind of developed as the years have gone on, and I think communication is a huge thing with goalkeepers.
I think another big thing is not losing your defenders. I coach a semi-pro team in Philadelphia, and we had a game last week where one of my keepers exploded on one of the defenders. The defender got beat. It's going to happen. Your defender's going to beat, but I think that you've probably realized through time that that's the last thing you want to do is ride a defender after they've gotten burned.
Yeah, I think for sure it doesn't help their confidence, and I know if I was in their boat, if they're riding me for maybe playing out too early or kicking a ball out of bounds or something crazy that happened, it wouldn't feel good that way. So I think it's just positive communication and making sure that they're next task oriented.
Yeah, and it definitely, that back line came up big for you when you were the Flash last year. You guys going on and winning the whole championship. It didn't look good. You were good 100 yards away from the winning goal, but it's one of those things where as a goalkeeper, you're sitting there just watching stuff unfold in front of you, and you kind of feel powerless, that you can't control the other end of the field.
Yeah, it's tough for sure, and I think especially in that game, letting in the first goal that I did let in, I did have to rely on the team a lot to kind of get us back into the game, and thankfully Sam and then Lynn in the second goal kind of got us there, and then I was able to do my job in the PKs. But yeah, it's sometimes hard being in the back and just watching things unfold with the forwards and the midfielders. So yeah, I agree.
I guess we'll go to the PKs. Every keeper's got their different point. Me as a keeper, when I played, I hated PKs. And that's just me. I hated shootouts. What is your mindset like when it comes PKs? Where does your mind go? Is it a lot of meditation or just what's your focus like?
A little bit with my gut. I kind of just get into the moment and feel the moment, and it kind of all just flows, seeing their hips open or do different things. And I mean, the players are tricky now where they're side footing it and it's not necessarily going where you think it's going. But I think for me, it's just being in the moment and just letting myself be free and go with my gut.
Yeah, and it definitely worked for you. So, I mean...
Yeah, thankfully.
I mean, it was a pretty exciting 2016. You walk away with a bronze medal and you walk away with the NWSL medal, I mean, each probably have its own special meaning to you.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, each kind of holds a special place in my heart, and they're two different teams, but teams that were very family-oriented and united, and there was a lot of team chemistry in each team, and I think that's what helped us through the Olympics and the NWSL season, and especially the NWSL season. I think our unity and just the chemistry on the field and the willingness to fight for each other and be blue-collared really kind of got us through to the end. And, I mean, the last game wasn't the prettiest of soccer, but, I mean, I think that's where our chemistry kind of brought us through.
Man, you guys definitely had to deal with a lot of adversity, with Paul being suspended for the final. I'm sure that it was probably harder on him than any of you players.
Yeah, I'm sure he was having a field day wherever he was sitting in that stadium.
I mean, and I think that's a neat part about the flash of last year, which is North Carolina now and Team Canada, that that if you looked at, like, if there was such thing as like Vegas lines, that neither of you would have picked to walk away with the championship or a medal. And I think that's the neat part, is just being with these teams that can overcome adversity and win a championship or win a bronze medal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think especially with the Canadian team, we've really worked hard to develop a new kind of brand of soccer, and I think we were very, very, very versatile in the Olympics. A bunch of different formations in games, and just the hybrid players that we had on the field and the depth in our squad really took us to where we wanted to go. And I think kind of got shot a little where I think we could have won the gold for sure, and kind of got snipped there. But the teams we played were, with the exception of one, were all tier 1 teams, and we beat most of them other than for Germany. So it's great to see for Canada soccer.
Now, looking at the Rio Games, what do you take from that besides winning the bronze medal? What was some of your most memorable moments there?
I think it's the people that I did it with and just the interactions with them. And I think for us, I'll never forget the Germany game, the first one we played, and Melissa Tancredi in our pregame meeting just being like, this is history for us. Like, if we beat Germany, it'll be the first time we beat Germany, and, like, let's just kind of do it. And watching her go out on the field and absolutely flourish and do amazing things was unbelievable, and it brings me chills talking about it. But that game really is special, and just obviously the third place game, and walking around the field after, just kind of clapping to the fans, the emotions kind of hit me, and just realizing what we had done as a team and all the effort that we had put in that past year to kind of get where we were. It was special for sure.
Now, where's your bronze medal sitting now?
It's at home. I didn't bring it with me to North Carolina.
probably a little safer there with your parents, right?
Yes, I trust my parents a little bit more than I trust myself.
at least you're honest, So, I mean, I think it's very neat that from you guys winning the bronze medal in the London games, that really you guys have started putting Canadian soccer and the names of Canadian soccer are household names here in America. Like you said, Tancredi, Sinclair, a lot of these names, people know who they are in America, and I think that's a big testament of how much your program's developed.
Yeah, and I think it helps Canada soccer, and also helps NWSL having those players like Sink and Steph LeBay and, I mean, Diana Matheson, all those players in the NWSL, and just kind of helping promote the league and Canada soccer for sure.
I'm sure there's some friendly rivals with the NWSL, especially since you guys beat Portland on Saturday.
Yes, it's all fun, and it's great seeing Sink after the game and just kind of going back to normal humans.
So this season, do you have any like personal goals for yourself? Looking into this 2017 calendar.
Not really. Paul kind of gets us to just trust the process, and I think for me, it's just making sure I'm getting better every day as a player, just like the 1% gains, and kind of focusing on different areas of the game and how I can improve each practice and each time I'm able to step out there on the field. So I think just every day, just kind of making the little gains is my main goal.
Now, you played your college ball at South Carolina. Now you're playing in North Carolina. What has the experience been like, now playing in North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it's special coming back to the Carolinas, and I'm thankful that I'm close to South Carolina. It's funny because when I got drafted to the Flash, I kind of went back home and was 45 minutes from home, and now I'm coming back here in North Carolina, kind of close to my second home. So it's still a special area for me, and I'm excited to be down here and near my school for sure.
And I'm sure that you don't have to really get used to the food down there. We were joking with Courtney Nemec. She never really had a barbecue until a few weeks ago. John and I took her out for barbecue, and I'm sure that's something you got accustomed to in the Carolinas.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've had before, so I was used to it coming down here.
So, but I want to thank you so much for calling into the show on such short notice, and thank Courtney Nemec for helping set this up. Really appreciate your time, and really, look forward to getting down there for the game, and wish you the best of luck this season.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for calling in. That was Sabrina D'Angelo, goalkeeper for North Carolina in the NWSL and also for Team Canada. So it's definitely a whirlwind to come away in 2016 with a championship medal and a bronze medal. I don't think there's many people can say that. If you look at the roster of Carolina which was the Flash and Olympic, I mean, I have to actually go do some research on that. Who walked away with a medal and championship and a medal?
Right, we're going to have to go talk to our stats department downstairs.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I was trying to make some beep beep noises. I need some science sound effects.
Sound like there was a squirrel on the microphone.
We got our intern, the squirrel. He's just eating up the stats.
Yeah, talk about having a world class keeper on here,
dude.
Coming off getting medals, first 2 games shutout.
You know what it reminds me of is like you and I basically we have no medals. You and I won a charity cup a few years ago together, but we actually ended up making it a coffee cup. But is no major medals in my career. I mean, unless I was like under 10. But it is kind of funny that like walking through security for Sabrina, it's like the metal detector goes off. What's that? Oh, that's my bronze medal. Metal detector goes off second time. Oh, what's that? That's my NWSL championship. You got any more? Just keep pulling out medals.
Yeah, we go through the airport with it's a couple coins in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, we definitely thank Sabrina for calling in the show and thank Courtney Nemec for setting that up. She's in the middle of flying actually to North Carolina. She actually had a quick flight back to Philly. She is now an aunt, so congratulations to the Nemec family out there for her brother having a kid. So, I guess that always makes you feel old. Your first kid to make you an uncle or something like that or aunt. So definitely wish the North Carolina team down there luck. And John and I, we've definitely looked at the calendar, and I think out of all the teams that NWSL, Carolina's going to be the least hard for us to go down to. Like, oh man, I got to go to a game there. So,
oh, man, I don't know. It might be so much barbecue. I can't take it.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my only problem. How to handle an interview on a stomach full of barbecue.
It's just going to be, is it going to be east or west barbecue? Is it going to be the vinegar base or is it going to be the tomato base?
That is a good debate. I think we will send that in the mailbag. We're going to come up with some stats, okay? Fans out there, hit us up. Mailbag at worldsportshow.com. Vinegar-based or tomato-based barbecue, what do you like?
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, until people say vinegar, because I guess it's Eastern is the vinegar base. Here we go, soccer show talking about food again. Awesome.
Dude, well, yeah.
So, right, the vinegar.
We'll have to consult with our Kansas City players in NWSL too.
Yeah, we can consult with our food department downstairs next to our stats department.
Don't get the two confused.
Yeah.
They kind of just merge. So, but no, that was an awesome interview and definitely goalkeeping. And Paul Riley, we've known that he wins championships and wins big games. Good defense and goalkeeping, man. It's as simple as it sounds. You win championship with defense.
That's it.
Build out of the back.
Build them up.
So we're going to take a quick little breather. After the break, we'll be back with Lloyd Yaxely, keeper coach of the Orlando Pride in the NWSL. Hang on, kids. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Last week on World Sports Show.
In studio guest Scott Crotty.
Camped out that one stoplight for that one day.
Pretty much.
I ran the red in town.
I actually was going. I got a seatbelt ticket there, going 5 miles an hour. I couldn't believe it.
Slow down, bud.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So why did you choose that university to go play? Because you're from the Reading area, correct?
Yeah, from Reading, born and raised. I kind of reached out to a bunch of Division I schools, and at the end of the day, they showed the most interest, and I took a visit down there, and it was the most beautiful campus I'd seen, and it was a good fit.
So I'm sure that having practice fields and places to play weren't a struggle like some of the city fields, city teams we coach.
St. Joe's, it's tough. I mean, we have one turf field we share with women's soccer, men's and women's lacrosse. Down at Gardner Webb, we had 4 or 5 nice Bermuda grass fields to ourselves. It was a treat.
I'm sure it's a huge difference between us. They're the ones that are getting their bodies beat up.
Our accidents that day, it seems like after they get hit, and I'm sure they're icing and taking an entire day or two off after the indoor game. I mean, you can barely move. You're icing your knees, you're icing your day. You're just trying to get back on your feet kind of within the next 24, 48 hours and train after that.
Yeah, and they always talk about the keepers not being in shape, but it's a whole different type of fitness. You look at the indoor game, the field players are constantly running shifts. They're on for a couple minutes off, and they can catch their breath. But you as a keeper, there's hardly any time to catch your breath. Except like the upside is there's TV commercials. So I mean,
yeah, it's a different type of fitness. Obviously, field players are more of a aerobic capacity. Goalkeepers are more of an explosive.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here. World Sports Show, WPPM LP Philadelphia on the internet, phillycam.org/radio/listen.
Our mailbag is mailbag@worldsportshow.com.
And on our hotline, we have Lloyd Yaxely of the Orlando Pride, keeper coach. Thanks for joining us, Lloyd. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, Charlie. How about yourself?
Oh, great, man. All moved into beautiful, sunny North Carolina. So, I'm not North Carolina, it's Florida. So I'm sure things are nice down there.
Yeah, I had a few roller coasters with actually getting into my apartment, but...
So you went to Disney World, basically, in your apartment.
No, it wasn't Disney World. It was just a circus. The guys at work have been ripping on me for it, but...
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your post on the internet. Is that true that you had an apartment lined up, but the tenants that were out of the lease would not leave?
Yeah, they refused to leave. So me, the wife, the 2.5-year-old crazy child, and the 70-pound golden doodle were living in a hotel room for
Jesus
4 or 5 days while the bozos got all of their stuff out of the place. So
dude, you should have been on a reality show. This would have been like season 1.
Oh my God! Like divorce lawyers were lining up outside my hotel room. I'm telling you.
I hope the hotel had the waffle maker at least to make it better.
That was the one saving grace. Breakfast in the morning.
Exactly. I got you covered on that one, hon.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm off to work. See ya.
Yeah.
At least you can't change the locks, when you're in a hotel.
Oh my Lord! It was interesting.
Oh man! And then and never mind, you still got a full-time job with the Orlando Pride. You got to go coach your keepers.
Yeah, then I've got to go and do some work in there as well. So kept me on my toes, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you guys have had an interesting start to the season. You've gotten a lot of media attention. I mean, obviously, you're the keeper coach, but signing Marta, gave your club a lot of attention, and you guys having your first home game at the new stadium. I mean, it's been a whirlwind from you guys down there.
Yeah, it's been great, and bringing in players of that caliber just kind of signals out the intent of the ownership and the management at the club, and we put in a lot of pressure on ourselves to be successful, and bringing in high quality people and high quality players is obviously a priority to have success on the field. So it's exciting times. The new stadium's amazing, and looking forward to getting wins in that place.
Yeah, I know you've talked about the stadium, and we really obviously haven't made it down there because it's new. I mean, walk us through, the game day, in the stadium, because we've all seen it that in NWSL that there's so many different levels of stadiums. Some are pro stadiums, some are like college style, some are high school style, but you're truly in a pro stadium. So what's game day like for you guys?
I wouldn't say that the game day is necessarily different from stadium to stadium. You just have you're obviously competing with, I think we had 18,000 fans at the game on Saturday, compared to, like a sellout at Washington Spirit would maybe be 4,000 or 5,000. So you're obviously got to deal with the masses, and the fans in Orlando are pretty intense as well. Like, we opened our window in our office and you see all the fans parading down the street with smoke bombs and flares and purple stuff going on. So it's great to see that level of support for the women's team as well as the men's team. It's almost times 10 for the men's team compared to what it is with the Pride. But the only other difference thing would just be added security in that big stadium. I got asked by the same policeman 3 times if I had credentials to go down the tunnel. So that would maybe be the only difference, or maybe that's just because I'm new there and at the Spirit.
Yeah, you have that forgettable face, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Who's this weird English guy with a huge nose? So yeah.
But I mean, just a testament for soccer in America and then women's soccer together. I mean, that's like 2 great things in one day. I mean, that's like striking a gold mine twice in the same day. That to think of that, years ago, to have that in America, especially as a person who grew up in England, to see these kind of things that you're used to seeing in England, with the fans marching in and the chants and the smoke. I mean, those are things you would only see in like World Cup matches or EPL matches, but now seeing that in the women's game, I mean, we've come a far way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's honestly, comparing like a Portland Forms game and a Orlando Pride game to an EPL game or a European game, it's a fair comparison now. Like, the fans are just as intense. The fans are just as invested in the result as anybody else is. So it's exciting times, for sure. To be able to see how into it people are getting, which is great for us.
Now, we talked to you before. It was a lot of the preseason. It was just kind of, you barely even got your feet wet at all. It was more of a, just getting to know Tom Sermanni as a person. You hadn't worked with him directly, but now that you've been able to work under him, and I mean, he's a household name in the women's soccer world. What's that experience been like being under Tom?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously got a vast amount of knowledge, and his personality is pretty laid back, but everybody respects him fully. So I think it's actually quite a good balance, because the assistant, Conno Smith, is kind of pretty intense and vocal, like I can be sometimes, and then Tom's more of a calming influence. So there's a good balance, I feel like, with the staff, that we can vibe off each other pretty well.
Now, what have you seen from your keepers? I know you hadn't really worked much with Aubrey, but you have worked with Ashland. What are you seeing this so far in their development of their game this year?
Yeah, it's I mean, to be honest, with Ash, we kind of just the ball just kept rolling from where we'd worked previously together. It's just kind of getting back in that rhythm again. Aubrey's been fantastic, and she's not only is she an extremely talented goalkeeper, but she supports her teammates really well, whether that's one of the other 3 goalkeepers that are training or whether it's the teammates on the field. And she's a workhorse, Aubrey. She just wants to train all the time, and I felt bad because I've either been commuting from Jacksonville or trying to work out how to escape a hotel room with my dog and 2-year-old child in order to give her extra sessions. But now that I'm only 20 minutes away from training and I'm a bit more settled, I'll be able to give her a bit more love when it comes to those extra sessions. And then on top of that, we have 2 other goalkeepers in training with us. We have Hannah Siebert, who I worked with in January with the U23 teams, who graduated from Pepperdine, who's doing really, really well. And then Amanda Capel, who graduated from FSU. The 4 of them are working really well together. We're obviously working to get the intensity levels up from all 4 of them, so that everybody's achieving their full potential within our goalkeepers union.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. You've had situations you've had 3 keepers, 5 keepers, 6. I mean, is there any type of magic number for you when it comes to number of keepers to work with?
I mean, we've got 4 right now, and if I'm being honest, it's probably a little too much. Just because I think it's different. I mean, it's with the environment that we work in, where pretty much the whole week of focus is aimed towards Ash and getting her ready to be the best goalkeeper she can be at the weekend. Now, obviously, that changes if Aubrey's playing and the week of focus is in on Aubrey. But sometimes with 4 goalkeepers, it affects the reps of that the starting goalkeeper wants to take. But then on the flip side, if we're having a crazy day where I'm being really demanding, or we're doing some plyometric stuff or something like that, where it's a kind of physical session on their bodies, then we need those extra numbers to be able to balance that work to rest ratio. But I mean, ideally 3, but 4 we can make work. It really depends on the session as well.
Yeah, no, I've been through that. I mean, my college team, I had 5 last year. We're down to 4 this year. So it's definitely, it depends on the situation, and it's also, I think, a thing that you've got this year that probably is a lot easier to handle than the last 2 seasons, as you had to deal with national team call-ups. So there's no major tournament this summer. So the bulk of your games, which keepers you're going to have. You're not going to have to worry about, like last year when you lost the keeper, and then your second string keeper becomes the one, and you don't want to rattle that or change it up at all.
Yeah, and that is tough. But I mean, on the flip side of that gives the number 2 a great opportunity for them to prove they can be a starter in the league and prove that they can perform at a high level for the team. And during the World Cup and during the Olympics, I think goalkeepers had those opportunities to do that and prove themselves. And I'd say some of those goalkeepers either succeeded at that or didn't succeed at that. And, still opportunities will come this year. They just won't be as set in stone as they were in previous years. But going back to our goalkeepers, if something was to happen at Ash, like we have full confidence that Aubrey's going to come in and do an exceptional job for the team.
Now, looking at some of the training facilities, I mean, you have an ownership group that is putting money into facilities, stadiums. I mean, walk us through some of the facilities you guys have for your trainings every day.
So, I mean, it's the one big difference between here and Washington would be the training facilities, because in DC, we were the only team that would be using those fields. So we had 20 fields in Washington that the ground staff would, manage for us and put us on the same field. Whereas here, we've got the MLS team, we've got the OCB team, and we have us all trying to, get training times in and around a similar time, as well as maintaining the fields, because I mean, it hasn't rained here for so long. The field's getting dry, and it's a tough job for the ground staff to keep the fields maintained to a high standard. But As far as training, the fields are right on our doorstep by our locker rooms, so that's nice. And then we have a gym right in our offices where the players will go work out and where they will eat their breakfast and lunch. And the facilities are great, and I think as far as in comparison to other teams in the league, like we're pretty well looked after on that side of things.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the show, and a lot of players kind of talk about these things, off the record with us, of the frustrations of not even just the women's game, but even the men's game in the MLS, where it's like they're not all equal. But when you have a facility like that, when you actually have the training facility, a gym, on-site fields, and even places to get food, it makes it a lot easier to start selling your brand to outside players looking to come into this league from overseas, that it truly has that European feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, for any player that comes into our environment, it's a top environment. I mean, we've got nutritionists, the players do blood work, there's, they get told which supplements they would recommend taking if they're iron's deficient. We have a obviously the nutritionist works out a meal plan for each team, and they have a selection, it's like a buffet each day kind of thing, that we have caterers come in. I mean, in my opinion, we give every player on our roster the maximum amount of information that they can receive in order to be able to perform, like, for the first half, the second half of the game, extra time if it goes to that, and obviously we're dealing with the heat in Florida as well. We're very lucky as an organization to have people with that knowledge that are able to come in and help us perform at the best we can.
Well, we definitely sparked John and I's interest, with just the whole layout of the stuff. I mean, it's something we definitely would love to talk to you more about and see, and it's definitely the way, it's kind of that model, that teams start taking after when other teams are looking, MLS teams are looking to add a women's team, that, hey, this is the way it can be successfully done, to help this league grow, because it's situations like this that are only going to help the NWSL when we see this league adding a team here and there each year, and growth is big, but a lot of these models are what's going to help bring in and keep players here. So, but always thank you so much for the time, Lloyd. I hope the next time we talk, we only have good stories to tell. We hope you don't get banned from your own stadium or living in seeing you on some Florida show.
Oh my Lord! Yeah,
Florida news show.
From now on, hopefully my life is like smooth sailing as far as my living arrangement.
It's all behind you, man.
Because to be honest, like, work is ticking every box, and I mean, I'm really fortunate with what I do. I mean, who gets to say they get to kick a ball of air at people for a living? I mean, I'm truly blessed to be able to do that.
And I'm sure you hit those balls a little harder on those frustration days.
Yeah, Ash and Aubrey might have something to say about, man, his kicking was really, really something those last few days. Yeah,
I could tell his anger level by the pace of the ball.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone has been like, it was actually nice. Like, Conno, our assistant coach, he gave me a bit of grief because I wore an England shirt to the stadium the other day for training, and he was giving me grief. And I said, it's just nice for you to make fun of me, and it takes my mind off of living in a hotel and having nowhere to live. So, it's work is great. Living arrangements, I'm there now. We've got a place to live. So it could always be much worse, right?
You're experiencing what the college kid experienced, not getting a dorm room or something. You're going through the American college kid experience.
There you go. Just with a dog and a 2.5-year-old.
Exactly. Maybe bring them to training next time if you need a place. I'm sure that you can mix something in. You can add it to your repertoire of training sessions. But
yeah, jump over the dog.
Awesome. Wrangle a kid. That's better. That's tougher than wrangling a ball in the box.
Oh my Lord! Yeah, get him to sit still for 5 minutes. Not happening.
Yeah, that's game control. But Lloyd, thank you so much for calling the show. Always appreciate your time, and best of luck down in Orlando.
Cheers, mate. We'll catch up soon.
It's Lloyd Yaxely, keeper, coach, Orlando Pride. I don't even want to be in his boots right now, man. Having to live in a hotel with your wife, a kid, and a dog.
Like I said, as long as that waffle maker is there in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Or good.
They're not out of batter. So I'm always, I swear, that guy that's out of batter.
Yeah.
So he just ran out.
Right.
Because there are the early birds in hotels. The old folks that are up at like 5, 6 in the morning. They say the hot breakfast starts at 6 a.m.
That's usually me. I'm the old geezer. I sit there.
And the waffle iron thing is kicked by 6:15. I ain't getting up at 6 in the morning.
Get the complimentary paper.
But no, I've had some ups and downs in hotel experience. The definition of a continental breakfast or light breakfast, the way they word it, and it's like just a couple pastries and that's it. I'm like,
which continent did have stale mini muffins in?
Continent.
Tell me.
The Antarctic Express.
Yeah, right.
And they call it buffet. I'm like, there ain't no buffet.
It's buffet.
Buffet.
The buffet.
Yeah, I don't remember which hotel I stayed at, but it was one of the hotels when I was working for Sky Blue. It was actually set up through Washington Spirit, the team hotel, and I mean, they had the guy with the omelet station. The dude makes you the omelet you want. And I'm like, oh. I mean, obviously it was also a Marriott, so I paid a little pretty penny to stay there, but sometimes you pay for what you get, man.
That's right.
This ain't the Red Roof Inn.
Buffet.
So, no, very good show tonight. We had some awesome guests. Just wrapped up an interview with Lloyd Yaxely, Orlando Pride goalkeeper coach, earlier tonight. We had Sabrina D'Angelo, goalkeeper from North Carolina NWSL, and also with Team Canada, and she's played her college ball at South Carolina. So, definitely some big names in the soccer world. We have a lot more other guests coming in studio in the next few weeks. We got a lot more guests calling in. We're just in the works of setting that all up. You can hit us up at mailbag@worldsportshow.com if you'd like to email in some of your suggestions of guests you'd like us to have to call in or guests you'd like to get in studio. There's no guest that we will not try to attempt to reach out to.
Speaking of Orlando Pride, we got some mailbag feedback that, people are happy to see Marta, the Brazilian superstar.
Huge.
Now playing currently with the Orlando Pride. Big fans. I mean, people are following this player globally, and it's good to see. We had a couple of our American players play international, and it's good to see a foreign player come here and play in our domestic league. Big-time player.
Yeah, I mean, she was with the WPS years ago when she played for the Flash, but it's good to see her come back to this league and have a fan base, and she's a household name.
That's right. It's attention. I mean, with Kaká down in Orlando, Brazilian superstar, now you got both.
I mean, it really hits that community down there because there's a lot of South Americans in Florida, so it's almost not just a marketing thing, and they're not just signing her for marketing because, dude, she can play. You're not just signing a player just to sell some shirts. Dude, she can play.
But for a marketing perspective, it's good, but she can play.
Yeah, exactly.
You're getting top class.
You're not just getting some dude. That was the same thing with Orlando when they got Kaká. You're talking one of the best players in the world.
Right. Not just flashy, like technically sound. Like,
yeah, it seems like some of the other NWSL teams that tells, oh, we signed this guy from South America. I'm like, who?
Right.
Don't just because he's from Argentina doesn't mean he's good.
Right. Kaká, formerly best player in the world.
Yeah.
Right. Not too shabby title.
Yeah, exactly. In the same club, men and women.
Right.
So, but no, thank everybody for emailing into the mailbag at worldsportshow.com. Go straight to John if you want to communicate with John directly. There you go.
That's right. Mailbag at worldsportshow.com. You know what? I'm going to fire a couple. We only got about 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes left if we're lucky.
Let's do it.
Just
rapid
one fire.
dude.
Got an email in from Philadelphia. It is asking, what is the most unique food we've ever had at a tailgate?
The most unique food. I was down at a tailgate in Virginia. I mean, that's where I'm from, and it was a pro football game, and it was one of the things where it's the entire turkey leg. It feels like the actual leg is they just pile meat on the leg, where it's one of those drumsticks that is a meal within a meal. I mean, it wasn't the most bizarre, but man, it was the best. I think that was the best thing I ever had at a tailgate.
Well, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I did have a little bit more time to think about it because I just threw it at you because I didn't read the question.
Yeah.
But being from Philadelphia, I've spent many hours at tailgates because that's just the ritual. It's not even a doubt when you go to a game or an event, concert.
You're in the parking lot more than the actual game itself.
It's about the ratios. I'd say it's a little bit more parking lot time than
75, 25% maybe, something like that.
About that.
Yeah.
So I've seen some unique food, but I think I guess a whole pig roast is up there, and so
in Philly,
it's pretty unique.
Dude, that's what's up in Philly too. That's not something you expect in Philly.
It's going back a while, but still, it's
maybe a whole cheesesteak roast, but
cheesesteak. That's funny. But yeah, it's haven't seen a South Philly taco yet at a tailgate, which I'm waiting to see. Which is for people inside Philadelphia know what I'm talking about, but it's a South Street taco. I have to kind of broaden it up for our
South Street
listeners.
taco.
So basically, it's a monster slice of pizza with a cheesesteak in the middle, and they roll it. They
roll it up.
Roll it up. Oh,
and the grease just absorbs into the cheesesteak.
It's just, we're awesome at a segue from talking about a nutritionist in Orlando and having the best opportunities in the world, and we just totally dumbed the show down.
Best opportunities, it's all about the stomach of the beholder. Or the mouth of the beholder.
If you want to say that.
There's all kinds of opportunities. Opportunities to be the best athlete, opportunities to be the best fat dude at the tailgate.
Right. And this is my mailbag at worldsportshow.com. This is my email to everybody who emails in.
Yeah.
We get a lot of good emails, but most of them are pretty general, which I do like and we do toss around, but you got to give us a little bit more specific, because some people write in like an if or if question example, 442 or 433. I know what they're saying, but you got to give us a little bit more parameters or a little bit more description so that we can.
Yeah, are they just flatly laid out? Because nobody has it just flat 4, flat 2, flat 3.
Right.
It's just it's kind of it looks like a pyramid almost. You really
like Christmas tree or park the bus. Like what? I need a scenario.
Yeah,
and another thing.
Are any of your four in the back moving up at all? Or are they just staying?
Yeah. Who's our back four?
Are they all staying home?
Right. Are we playing a video game? We're in real life here. U12. But, U.S. Soccer says they put the 1 first because they're, 1-4-4-2.
For the keeper.
For the keeper.
We do that a lot in our college program.
That's right. But, yeah, it's good. We're working on getting guests coming up. We're working on revamping everything. We're getting a lot of good feedback from everybody out there. And it's good to hear a lot of people listening through the actual, the vintage thing we call radio, actually. Instead of the internet, we got a ton of people listening on the stream. Newsflash.
Yeah, people listen on the radio still.
That's right. So we're on the move, getting new listeners. We can see the analytics, different countries. It's good. Good returning people, good new listeners. Thanks for spreading the word out there. You guys get an A+.
Bada bing, bada boom.
That's right.
So, any other thing in the mailbag or any other news before we hop off the air? We only got about a minute or so left on the show tonight.
I'm gonna save them for next week. We got some good ones. And then we'll put them. We're actually going to put some on Twitter as well. And then
other news before we wrap up. El Clasico, Messi wins it for Barcelona. No surprise.
That's right. And if you didn't watch it over the weekend, don't say we spoiled it for you, because we did give you the ample amount of time to watch it. At least get the highlights.
Yeah, dude. It's more than 24 hours later, dude. If you're listening to a soccer show and you know about the El Clasico, well, El Clasico, your fault. So, but no, thank everybody for calling into the show tonight. Lloyd Yaxely from Orlando Pride. Sabrina D'Angelo and Courtney Nemec for setting that up. That's an awesome teammate move. That's an assist, We should put that in a fantasy stat sheet, help a player get on the show.
Fantasy World Sports Show stats.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the negative today for me, just totally ruining nutrition talk with just barbecue and food.
You didn't ruin it, man. There's those fat guys out there that need our love too, so got to help a brother out. So we are World Sports Show. Check us out anytime at World Sports Show on the Twitterverse, worldsportshow.com. He's John DeCriscio. I'm Charlie Flo. This is WPPM LP Philadelphia.